Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. I'm very glad to see so many people gathered together on this New Year's Eve at Amaravati. This represents a very skillful intention on behalf of all of you to be seeing out the old year and seeing in the new year in a wholesome and spiritually supportive environment, rather than going out and getting drunk and partying. Maybe some of you got that planned for later. I will assume not, but though. The ending of a year is somewhat a convention. You know, we have the Gregorian calendar that we run our lives by. The shortest day of the year is December 21st, so about 10 days ago. That turning of the year happens astronomically on a different date, and we call this New Year's Eve. Chinese New Year is on the new moon of February. The Buddhist New Year is on the full moon of November. So there's many different New Years, but according to the calendar for most of us, this is the full ending of this year, 2024, according to the Western Gregorian calendar, and beginning of 2025 tomorrow. So this is a good opportunity to look back and to look forward. The Buddha was a great list maker. He used this as one of the forms of helping to convey the teachings, convey his understanding, and to provide support for our lives as human beings. He used various different forms. He used storytelling, he used a lot of similes, and he also used lists as helpful ways to enable us to remember, recollect the teachings. And one of the many lists that he created was a list called the 7 Sapurisa Dhammas, the 7 qualities of a well-rounded person, a good-hearted and a well-rounded person. The first 2 of these are Dhammanyuta and Attanyuta. So Dhammanyuta in this respect means one who considers the causes. So you look back into the past and you consider, how have things come to be this way? Where has this come from? What are the chains of causation, and what are the events, the choices that have been made that led up to the experience of this present moment being as it is. So looking back into past causes, and then Attanyuta, A-T-T-H, A-N-N with tildes on top, U-T-A, Attanyuta, means considering consequences. Where is this likely to go? What's the likely result of this? Understanding how nature works, where does this look as though it's going to go to? So I feel these are very valuable qualities to consider causes, to consider results, and to, in particular, cultivate that what we call consequential thinking, to bear in mind. If I act in this way, if I follow this impulse, this idea, it might be interesting, it might be exciting, it might be what everyone else is doing, but where's it likely to go to? What's the likely result? So first of all, considering the past, learning from the past, as the philosopher George Santayana famously said, he's very often quoted as having said, "Those who do not learn from the past are condemned to repeat it." So, particularly with respect to our mistakes, then it's useful, valuable to look back into the past and to learn from how things have been. So, at the ending of a year, there's a number of contemplations I like to suggest to people to help us to understand our life, our choices, and our attitudes that we have towards others, towards ourselves, that can then help, give us a good direction for the future. So, first of all, the first of the contemplations I like to encourage is to look back over the previous year and to consider what you resent, what negativities you feel that are still here in your heart at the end of the year. What are you still carrying about in terms of negativity towards other people? People in your family, people in the workplace, people in the monastery, people in the government, people in the world around us. So to look and to think, well, who am I carrying around with an attitude of bitterness, what is called patika in the Pali language, that kind of grudge, like that person, that they did me wrong, they were unkind, they were cruel, they were stupid, they made some decision in Parliament that ruined my life, this person caused harm, they were deceitful, they treated me badly. So to look into the past year and to see who are we carrying grudges for, and not to stir up more evidence or to make ourselves more negative or more irritated and more resentful, but rather to see this is burdensome. That if we carry around that kind of negativity, we not only is that negativity unhelpful or harmful towards others, it's also harmful towards ourselves. And that one of the teachings, just reflecting on this, this teaching that the Buddha gave with respect to resentment, negativity, he said, when you're treated with harshness, when you're treated unfairly or unkindly, one who doesn't respond with anger, but who responds with forgiveness, with compassion, with kindness, he says they win a battle that is hard to win. It's not easy to do. If someone is unkind to you, they treat you badly, they're cruel, they're selfish and destructive. Not that we are agreeing with or pretending we don't feel that painfulness, but instead of responding with more negativity, more hatred, we respond with compassion, kindness. What a miserable state they must be in order to have treated us so badly. What a horrible mindset to have. What a horrible place they must be living in, psychologically, to be acting in those kind of ways. When we chant the verses on the sharing of blessings, we say, may all beings receive the blessings of my life, those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile. The highest gods and evil forces, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. That doesn't mean to say that we're glad that someone has robbed us, cheated us, harmed us, and taken all our money or betrayed us and made life miserable. We're not saying, oh, how marvelous that you've injured me or you insulted me. What a wonderful thing. We're not pretending that the bitter is sweet, but rather we're recognizing that more negativity is only going to make things worse. So this is the opposite of wanting to take revenge or to harm those who have harmed us, but it's a very gracious and beautiful attitude that the Lord Buddha encouraged. Hatred is never conquered by hatred. Hatred is only ever conquered by love. This is a law, ancient and inexhaustible, as it says in the Dhammapada. So, to look back over the year and to consider, okay, who am I still carrying around? Who do I nurse that negativity towards? That's to be considered, and we can't just sort of snap our fingers and change our attitude, but at least we can recognize, I'm still nursing that wrath, that negativity, that aversion towards this person, that person, this particular institution, or this a member of my family or my community, the person in the workplace, and at least we can acknowledge that there is that negativity there, and that that's something that is harmful to keep carrying around, and we can set the intention to recognize that, to let go of that. So then the second contemplation I like to encourage is the sort of opposite end of the scale, is to consider who has helped us during this last year. Since 2024 began, how many people have blessed our lives with kindness, with generosity, with unselfishness, with gifts and support? Yeah, how many beings have helped us, enabled us to survive in where we live, the work we do, the food that we eat, the sources of education and guidance, the many and various ways that people can make life better for us. It's easy for the attention to go to all the flaws and the mistakes, all the painful things, and that which is sort of wrong and uncomfortable and difficult, and to take the pleasant for granted, or just to not be acknowledging that, but just to be bringing attention to the people in your family who've been a blessing for you and have helped you along, people in the workplace who were kind to you, who supported you, who encouraged you, who taught you, who helped you. I remember in years gone by, Lumpur Sumedho used to, when he was talking in this kind of vein, he said, you should share merit and cultivate gratitude towards the British government, helping to keep the roads open, to help keep the electricity flowing, to help the National Health Service to be providing medical support for the country. It's easy to grumble and complain, say, it's not as good as it used to be, and there's potholes. What do you mean looking after the roads? Haven't you seen the potholes? Yeah. But it's great to have roads that have potholes, right? If we didn't have the roads there in the first place, we wouldn't have potholes to complain about. So it's one way of looking at it. This is called the glass half empty rather than the glass half full attitude. So that looking back over the year and to consider how we have been supported, who's provided the food that has fed us. Here in the monastery, us members of the monastic community, we live on alms, on freely given food and resources that are offered by so many members of the lay community. I've been a monk for 46 years, and they say that all the cells of your body are replaced every 7 years. So this is a 6.5 times over. This body has been donated by many hundreds, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. This is an alms food body. This is different way of relating to our physical form. So without the generosity of thousands and thousands of people in Thailand, here in England, in the USA, and all around the world, then this body wouldn't be here. And so that's not something to ignore. The robes that we're wearing, the buildings that we're in, this temple, our new sala, these wouldn't exist without the generosity, the kindness, and the thoughtfulness of many, many people. So that doesn't take a lot of effort, but just to cast your attention back into the year that's gone by, and to consider, how many people have helped my life along, how many have made my life richer and more valuable, more delightful, more easeful, and not to create a sense of debt or obligation or something owed, but rather to rejoice in the good that has been done. This is what the word anumodana means when we say sadhu anumodana. That's what anumodana means, is I rejoice in the good that has been done. I'm really glad that you've made this good karma. Not just because I have been fed and housed and clothed and provided with medical treatment for this year, but also rejoicing in the fact that so many people have carried out acts of generosity, kindness and thoughtfulness that have brought blessings into your own lives, that you've created this good karma that has been of say, a powerful and beautiful spiritual resource for yourselves. What a wonderful thing. That's worthy of rejoicing, worthy of celebrating. So then the third contemplation I like to encourage at the end of the year is to consider in your own life what you regret. The choices that I have made, the words that I've said that were not completely true, or were selfish or aggressive, or someone making fun of somebody in an unkind way, that were thoughtless, the actions, the things that I've done, the choices that have been made that have been harmful to other beings, to other people, to the animals and plants, aspects of the living world, to, again, not to create a sense of guilt or self-hatred or a sense of, say, aversion towards our own life, self-criticism, but rather to recognize, yes, that was poorly done. I expressed myself, it was in the flow of a particular conversation, and just for the sake of telling a good story, or just for the sake of wanting to make someone feel okay, what I just said, that wasn't true. They said, did you do such and such? And you said, yes, I did. And he said, well, actually, you didn't. But you said you did because you didn't want to disappoint them, or that you wanted to make yourself look good. Or, okay, well, I said that, it wasn't true. Okay, how does that feel? What's that like? So again, it's hard to consider our unkind or selfish, greedy, indulgent or deceitful actions, and for that not to turn into guilt or self-hatred. In the Western world, this is something that is a very, very strong trait. And even when we haven't done anything very, very destructive or painful, we can still have a lot of self-aversion, self-hatred. Many years ago, when His Holiness the Dalai Lama was giving some teachings in the USA, and after he'd given a talk, he opened things up for some questions. And one of the questions from the audience, several thousand people that were gathered there, the question was, how do you skillfully work with self-hatred, self-criticism? And so His Holiness, this was quite a number of years ago, that this exchange happened. I think it was at the Harmonia Mundi conference many, many years ago. Anyway, he, in a very straightforward way, said, excuse me if it's impolite, but what have you done that you feel so bad about? Were you in the military? Were you responsible for killing people? Or have you had a career that has been very dishonest or destructive? Have you stolen things? And what is it that you feel so bad about? And then the response came back from the person, "Oh, no, I haven't done anything very karmically bad at all. I'm actually quite an honest and well-behaved person. I just hate myself." And then, again, I wasn't there, but according to reports, His Holiness sort of, this puzzled look crossed his face, like, And then he went into a huddle with his translator, Thubten Jinpa, and so he quickly explained the kind of Judeo-Christian self-hatred reflex that is very, very common in the Western world, and saying yes, that it's not unusual for people just to have an unconscious and automatic attitude of self-criticism, self-hatred, not based on any kind of unwholesome activity at all. And so he quickly explained that the Judeo-Christian self-critical mind guilt-tripping habit, and His Holiness sort of came out of the huddle and said, "Oh, this is most unfortunate." And when a similar dialogue happened here at Amaravati, very, very similar, almost exactly the same kind of question and almost exactly the same kind of explanation, when Lumpur Panyananta, who was used to come and visit and spend time with our communities in the 80s and early 90s, and when somebody asked this question in a very straightforward manner, he said, "This is merely an unskillful mental attitude. Just take note of it and let go of it. That's all." And the person who'd asked the question just went, "Ha!" They weren't trying to be rude, but they sort of laughed in Lumpur Panyananda's face, like, "Just let go of it. Are you kidding? If I could, I would, but this does not go away quite so easily." So it is very strong tendency, and not just for Westerners, but also people born in Asia and other parts of the world as well. It can be acquired. So when we look at our own unskillful actions and our thoughts and our attitudes, when we've carried around those feelings of guilt and self-hatred, self-criticism, that's not what we're trying to do with this, but rather just recognizing the quality of our attitudes, our words, our actions, and to recognize, that was poorly done. That was a selfish thing to have done. That was not beautiful. That wasn't wholesome. And here's the result of it. So we don't have to see that with an attitude of self-view. We don't have to build an ego around that, but rather, this was done. Here's the cause. Here's the effect. Ow. And over and over again, particularly in the Vinaya Pitaka, in the Buddha's teachings on discipline for the monastic community, he over and over again he says to recognize our faults, our transgressions as such, and to endeavor to do better in the future. This is called development. This is called bhavana. This is called cultivation in this teaching and in this discipline. So you recognize what's been unskillful, what's been unkind or cruel or dishonest, not to create a negative self-image, but rather to acknowledge, that was unwholesome, to learn from the past so that we don't repeat it. In that way, so that having spoken unkindly, having spoken in a selfish or a cruel way, having made a joke about somebody and made fun of someone, having spoken in that way, having followed that indulgent or that cruel, that destructive impulse, that having been the cause, what's the effect? Ow! And as I often say when talking about this, the more wordless and non-conceptual that appreciation is, the better. The more it's just a raw, simple recognition of, here's the cause, here's the effect. And if the effect is painful, let the pain be what teaches us. That's what can help us to wake up. We don't have to create a negative self-image out of it, but rather recognizing, that was the action, here's the result. let's try to avoid creating that painful feeling in the future. And not even spelling that out in words, but just letting that painful quality be its own, be the teacher itself. Because pain does, it's painful, but it does teach us. That we do learn from that in a clear and direct way, if we let that lesson be received, if we say open the heart to that process. Then the fourth of the contemplations I like to encourage is that of, and sometimes this is even more challenging or more difficult than looking at your faults, is looking back over the year and considering what are the good things that I have done. What have I brought into the world that has been beneficial, that's been beautiful, that has been noble and say of benefit to other beings. And again, we don't do this in order to score points or kind of calculate how much we've got in the merit bank, in our kind of punya, in the boon bank. How many kind of good karma points have I created? It's again not to be thinking of this in terms of self-view or ego inflation. Oh, what a wonderful person I am! The world is so much a better place because of me. I know I didn't get acknowledged in the New Year's Honours list, but really I should have been, because I am a fantastic, wonderful person, and the world is so lucky to have me around. This is foolish kind of inflation and egotism. That's not very helpful. So, but rather, this is a contemplation that the Lord Buddha encouraged us to carry out. One of the contemplations, the anusati. So we have the Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati, Sanghanusati, contemplation of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha; Marananusati, contemplation of death; Devanusati, contemplation of the Devas; and another of the contemplations is Chaganusati. And Chaga means generosity or goodness. So this is contemplating your own goodness. And this can be difficult to do, and not to build an inflated ego out of it. But again, just to recognize this was done. I acted in this way that was generous. I made a very kind offering. I helped this member of my family. I went out of my way, traveled halfway across the world to go to the wedding of a godchild or a grandchild, or a family friend that you reached out to help and offer support to. What a wonderful thing! How people were so happy to see you, so happy to be helped by you. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. That's so helpful. I'm glad you're here to lend a hand. You showed up to be present to provide some support, or you offered some money to help get somebody through school or through college. You were there at someone's bedside to help them. You worked to support a meditation retreat. All the many and various ways that we can help each other, coming to the monastery, offering food on a regular basis. Just to think, wow, the whole year, every single week I came to the monastery. Wow, I'm really glad I did that. Just to feel the punya, the boon, the brightness of the heart that comes from good action. And so this is one of the reasons why the Buddha said, Chaganusati, contemplate your own goodness. It's like, rejoice in the good that has been done. And it just happened to be you that did it. And so that in a way it's fully appreciating the results of your good work, to let that in, and to enjoy that. Another of the Buddha's statements, and there's no preamble to it in this particular teaching. You find in the Itivuttaka, where there's short Dhamma teachings, in this collection of suttas called the As It Was Said collection, or this Itivuttaka. It doesn't have a preamble. It doesn't say why the Buddha mentions it, but it seems to be on the basis that somebody has said creating good karma, that's really kind of children's Dhamma, children's practice. It's kind of really inferior, very worldly, it's not as important as developing meditation or cultivating wisdom, insight. That's what really matters. That's the important thing. It seems to have been in the light of some kind of comment of that nature that the Buddha says this. He says, don't look down upon punya, upon merit. Don't belittle the meritorious acts of generosity, acts of kindness, acts of compassion, acts of unselfishness and nobility. Don't belittle that. Don't dismiss that as inferior or unworthy or insignificant. He says punya is another word for happiness. So I feel this is the essence of what the Buddha is encouraging in Chagganusati, is to recognize and to allow into the heart the good that you have been part of. Not to think of it as some kind of merit bank that you're sort of accumulating enough punya to get to heaven after you die. That is a shallow way of thinking of it. But rather, right now, here and now, not just something you enjoy after the body's died, but right now, just to recollect the good that has been done over this last year. The small acts of kindness, just on the road, just letting another car come in front of you to take the exit off the motorway. Just okay, they want to get off. Okay, I can slow down, let them go first. Why do I have to push in front of them? I can make space for a car who wants to change lanes. Someone needs to come in front of me. Okay, let them go first. Why not? Small, ordinary, everyday acts of kindness, unselfishness, patience, then it can be a great blessing. It can make a big difference in the world around us. That someone who's having a bad day and they're impatient and upset, and suddenly another car on the road slows down, lets them go first. Somebody at the supermarket, you say, "Oh, you look like you're in a hurry. Please go ahead of me. I've got nothing else to do. Please, you go first." My goodness, there are kind people in the world. There are people who are not thinking of themselves first. There are people who are patient and ready to make space for others. So it's a small, tiny acts of kindness, of generosity can make a huge difference. Many years ago, I remember reading an article by Satish Kumar, who's quite a well-known and well-respected spiritual teacher here in this country, and he was a Jain monk in the Jain tradition for many, many years, and he had, as a young monk, he'd made a vow to walk from India and to travel to all of the capital cities of all of the nations with nuclear weapons, and to go and offer tea to the different heads of state in these different countries. And he made this great spiritual journey. Anyway, so when he was asked what was the most significant spiritual influence in his life, the interviewer, I think this was in his own magazine, which is called Resurgence. The interviewer was expecting some kind of meeting, a spiritual teacher, or some kind of solitary retreat in a cave in the Himalayas or something. And very interestingly, Satish Kumar said, well, it was his mother who was a very average Indian village woman I think in Rajasthan was where he grew up. And he said that her example and her influence on his life was the most significant spiritual presence. And then he went on to explain how when he was one of many children, she had, I think, 9 or 10 children, and when some of the children had grown up and gone off to study and had earning some money, then a couple of his sisters wanted to buy their mother a sewing machine because she really liked to make clothes for her children. And in Rajasthan, they have this tradition of these very heavily embroidered clothes with these sort of mirrored sequins and kind of color and beautiful colored shapes in the clothing that the local women would make, and so his sisters wanted to offer their mother a sewing machine, and then he said, but his mother said, "Well, thank you very much, but." And she held up this needle and said, "This can't break down. This is my needle. This can't break down. It doesn't need to be oiled. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be maintained. I can't lose any parts of it." And even though if I have a sewing machine, I could probably use it to make dresses and make the clothes more quickly. I could do more of it, but it's not a matter of the amount that I make, because with my needle and thread, then each stitch that I make in putting the different pieces of fabric together, or sewing the patterns and making all the embroidery, I'm paying attention. I'm doing this for you, and I enjoy every stitch that I make. And I think she said something like, "I couldn't think quickly enough to to focus on every stitch if it's running through a machine. Those stitches happen too fast." But I like to sew stitch by stitch, and with each stitch to be thinking of you, who I'm making these clothes for. And then Satish Kumar said that's one of the greatest spiritual influences in his life, was the example of his mother and her sense of enjoying the work she does, being able to pay attention to each moment, and each moment of generosity and care and kindness for her children, what she could do, and a fewness of needs. And so she probably didn't think, as she's sewing the clothes for her kids, "Oh, I'm now being a major spiritual influence in the world." She wasn't doing it for that, but that simplicity and clarity, that wholesomeness of her attitude, then influenced her son, who then along the way became a very significant spiritual teacher and a great aid, a great benefit to many, many people. So don't underestimate your small acts of kindness, of choosing simplicity, of choosing harmlessness, of choosing honesty, that without even realizing it, we can be a benefit, a blessing to other people. I remember many years ago when I was living in Thailand, and one of the monks, young monks at Wat Nanachat, where I was starting out my monastic life, and in a similar way, he said one of his spiritual influences was the man who worked at the local petrol station, and that he was this extremely relaxed individual. This was in Tennessee, in America, and he said, nothing could ruffle this guy. He'd sort of, and this was when you went to a petrol station, somebody would handle the petrol pump and put the gas into your tank for you, and that. I said, if you came sort of screeching into the petrol station and came to a halt, and the guy would be leaning back on his chair, with his hat over his face, and his stock expression was, "Where's the fire, Speedy?" "Where's the fire, Speedy?" And that just there was no fire. Like, why are you in such a rush? Where do you think you're going? And that. And so he didn't realize he's being a major influence on the spiritual development of someone who's going to become a Buddhist monk in a few years' time. And that person then, even to today, carrying on being a well-known, well-respected spiritual teacher in the world. But that contact, you don't have to be in a hurry. I do feel like there's a fire. I've got to get on to the next thing. And this man who's doing his job, he's there in the petrol station, he's the one handling the pumps, and yep, he's available, but he's not going to rush. He can just take his time to get out of his chair, get up, unhook the petrol pump, and put the nozzle in your tank and fill you up. So the many and various ways that we can bring those influences into the world, even without realizing it, that we can look at that and just say, not that I'm a wonderful example for all of you, in an inflated way, but recognizing, just because I'm honest, because I don't get into arguments in the workplace, because I make the effort in the family to be the one who helps people to be united rather than just feeding gossip and division and finding fault, but I help to, as it says in the teachings, to unite the divided, to be a force of harmony. Just to notice that, to say, I do that. I delight in harmony, and I do make efforts to bring people together rather than create division. Oh, that's a good thing. I'm glad I do that. If that's the case, just noticing that you rejoice in fairness, not being selfish. That when you get some things that you have received in terms of money, or in terms of goods, or in terms of time, or that you're ready to share what you have with others. Oh, I really enjoy being unselfish. I enjoy giving people attention. I enjoy sharing the things that I have with others. Oh, that's beautiful. How wonderful. If someone else did that, I would be praising them. But because it's me, I kind of ignore it or don't even notice it, don't make anything of it. So, it's a long way of speaking about Chaganusati, to rejoice in the good that has been done, even if it's got your name on it. You don't have to be embarrassed or feel that, I shouldn't praise myself. That's really evil. That's bad karma. And again, some of the traditions we have in the Western world say you should never praise yourself, or never acknowledge any kind of good act that you do because of the fear of being inflated or egotistical. But I feel that the Buddha's advice is very, very skillful in this. It's like, that if we don't add the egotism to it, it's a source of joy, it's a source of happiness and benefit. So with these contemplations, I feel it's good to look back at the year that has gone by, and then learning the lessons that we can from those different contemplations, then to set in place our intentions for the future. New Year's resolutions that people like to have. I was just changing my posture. So. I can finish if you like. I hadn't quite got there yet. We also have, as a special treat for this year, which we haven't had in previous years, chai and lemon tea will be available after the Dhamma talk. You don't even have to wait till midnight. So the longer I talk, the longer you have to wait for your cup of chai. So it won't go on too much longer. But so just to say, in terms of making resolutions, setting direction for the future, even though the Dhamma is akaliko, is timeless, the Buddha did also encourage us to have skillful intentions, samma sankappo, right intention, right resolution, adhitthana, the qualities of determination. So it's skillful and helpful to set direction for the future. So if you actively use those kinds of contemplation, looking at how the past has been, then that informs us for a good direction for the future. So I leave it to everyone to make your own resolutions, see where things have been beneficial and good, where things have been harmful and destructive. Learn from that. Let those lessons be learned, and let that be what causes a choice of direction for the future. What are the things that we need to learn from? What is going to be it looks like being a good direction to head? And then setting those resolutions, those intentions in place. Don't be afraid to have New Year's resolutions, and to see what will be helpful for yourself and for the world around you to be cultivating, and take this occasion, gathering together for this New Year's Eve, to reflect, consider in this way, and to establish those wholesome intentions, resolutions for the coming year. So I offer these thoughts for consideration this evening.